This is breaking news, by the way. I'm sure you didn't know this, but it's massive news, life-changing type of news. Wall Street Journal, Rob, that CDC just gave us the report that we all need to start adjusting the way we're living.
Oh, no.
It's official. Keyword, official. We can pretty much treat COVID like the flu now.
What?
And it gives you the guide. So no longer, CDC actually came out and told us it's no longer the COVID. It's now just the flu. Do you think it's always been the flu? Do you think it's always been, but it took CDC 4 years to figure it out? Do you think there was some craziness going on? What do you think is going on here with CDC not telling us it's the flu?
You know, you got to realize when COVID first happened, people got very excited. And I'll tell you why, because they had talked about it for a long time. You know, like Bill Gates had run all these like, simulations, simulated events. Like they get really excited about it.
Stimulation.
Yeah, they go. What if we had a little sickness? What if we had a little shutdown? What if we had a pandemic? They thought about it. And they considered all the things that they would do if there was a pandemic. This is something that they had prepared for. They were really into this, right? This is something they would do. They would have these drills and program and all this stuff. They go, how would we respond to a pandemic? So I think what happened when COVID happened was, basically they were like, let's try out all the stuff we thought we would try out. Let's lock everyone down. Let's transfer all this money to people that are rich already. Let's see what they do. Let's see what people will tolerate. Let's, because I think that they were like, if not now, when?
This is the epitome of the yes and.
If not now, when?
Yes and. Let's keep going.
If you have prepared for this day and you've run all these simulations and you've discussed what you were going to do and it happens, you do it.
Yep.
Rahm Emanuel, who was Obama's chief of staff, said never let a good crisis go to waste. I mean, I'm sure we've all heard this and repeated it ad nauseum, but that's the way I think they looked at COVID. They were like, let's see what we can do here.
Yep. And Tim, do you think, because, mind you, this, the timing couldn't have been perfect to, last year presidency, this thing comes out of Wuhan lab.
Yeah.
We own it. Fauci. Do you think, even though now, I mean, it's obvious, we knew as it was happening, Tim, but now, because of the news cycle is so fast, now, a couple years later, now you're like, okay, it was the flu. Masks didn't work. Fauci lied. The science was off. Now Americans are just like, dude, we're on to the net. We have to worry about Ukraine. Nobody gives a shit, even though now we know for a fact they lied the entire time. Meanwhile, Fauci, who was a mouthpiece, is protected by the Secret Service full-time, our tax dollars. He's retired and he's protected forever. It will never be held
What
accountable.
I enjoy about COVID is that, of course, China's been held accountable for everything they've done. Everything that happened in the virology department of the Wuhan lab, it's all been rectified. They've given their conclusion.
Apologized.
China, they haven't. No,
I think Adam's trying to be a comedian again.
Is it being facetious?
Okay.
Is that the word?
Is that the word?
Is that what it is?
He's trying
Yes,
to
and.
stimulate. Is the stimulation.
Well,
but I agree with what you're saying with the fact that nothing's happened there yet.
Nothing.
The question I'm asking is the following. Here's the question I'm asking. The jokes, let's have fun with that. But I'm asking a real question in this part. Do you think it's always been the same? Or do you think it's no longer the same because our bodies are immune to it, so it can no longer fight us the way it did? Like, what do you think actually?
So, I mean, I'm not.
You know what I'm asking,
I'm not a
right?
doctor.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure that the original COVID variant was worse, right? It weakens over time. How much worse? I don't know. I think that really all depends on what were the numbers of COVID deaths that were purely from COVID? What were the numbers that were from another maybe disease, fatal disease plus COVID? I don't know. I've heard lots of different people offer testimony, people I respect, that go, no, it was much more serious early on. And it probably, I imagine it was. How serious was it? Was the right way to go about it to shut everything down and have these rolling shutdowns for 2 years and make people overall probably less healthy and shut down national parks and shut down gyms and but leave liquor stores open, the famous thing, you shut down churches but you can go out and get drunk.
Priorities. We got to keep our priorities straight. Yeah.
That in hindsight seems silly.
Yeah.
And not the way to have handled it. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you whether it was more serious or not, but the response to it now in hindsight seems absurd.
From a federal response.
Yeah,
because if you look at it from a federal response, obviously Trump started with the Operation Warp Speed and then Biden carried it on in his legacy. But, you know, some heroes were formed during COVID. And that's the beauty of what's going on in America is you have 50 states to choose from. So, you know, I was in Florida or Texas during COVID, and you would sort of not even notice it was that big of a deal.
Well, it depends where you work.
Exactly. Right? But if you're in California or if you're in New York, God forbid you're one of those nursing homes
really
with Cuomo.
So in Beverly Hills, we had no vax mandate. We had no mask mandate. And, you know, we didn't because it's a lot of...
the rich get richer.
Well, it's a lot of Iranians, people like that. They don't fall for like bullshit as easily. So it was a lot of like, you know, Persian people and stuff like that. Beverly Hills kind of does its own thing. I wasn't aware of how draconian a lot of the measures were. You know, I had friends calling me going, I can't get in. They're doing temperature checks and this and that. Like, it's weird. Like, I have to have a vax card. I have to have my thing on my phone. For us, it was not. It was very kind of localized. Like, Beverly Hills didn't have a lot of the...
It was just everywhere else in California.
A lot of
except
other
for French Laundry, that one
a lot
restaurant.
of other places, except I mean, listen, it certainly was. There were things in Beverly Hills that were annoying too, but like it was less annoying than the city of LA, for example. Just like California's passed a mansion tax where you have to give 5% or 4% of your house if it sells for over $5 million, or 5% if it sells for over $10 million, and this has to go right to the government so that they can fight homelessness with this money.
That doesn't sound like redistribution of wealth at all.
It's never been defined how they're going to do it. But you know who's exempt from it? You're going to laugh. Malibu, Beverly Hills, okay? Manhattan Beach, like any incorporated city that isn't. So city of LA, city of Los Angeles, ULA is you have to pay if you sell your home. Other places like Beverly Hills or Malibu, you don't. So it is weirdly localized, but overall, you know, California and New York had bad leadership, I think, during COVID. They had bad leadership during riots. They had bad leadership. And a lot of people fled those states and, you know, they're relocated.
I think.
Are you planning on staying?
I move around so much as a comedian that I'm not, you know, ever quite, you know, I go with my accountant at the end of the year and basically figure out where I've been. He goes, well, you've been here, you've been there. I have friends and family in New York, so I'll never be able to, I'm not going to abandon New York. I'll spend time there. And you know, I'm in the business of comedy, so I like LA. I have great friends in Austin. I go there a lot too. So I don't know, long term, I'll probably end up in Florida, long term, because I love Florida.
Well, you're welcome here anytime. You know? Palm Beach is accepting applications. Can I get your opinion on the COVID thing? Because you've been very outspoken about this. I think one of the things, because you said when you were in the Army, you were getting jabs, boom, 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 mandates. That's one of the biggest things. You know, you've said openly on the podcast, your father got the vax. And so did Melva, I believe. But that's not something that you stood for. I think it was the mandates and the painting with broad strokes, where if you're old and you're unhealthy and you have comorbidities, go get the jab. But then you see the slippery slope of like, now we need elementary school kids getting the jab. It's like, now you need to go get your 12th booster. Thanks, guy. So where do you draw the line on this? What's your take on this whole? Because I remember when our other friend over here got very sick because of COVID. I saw you lost 20 pounds from it because it wasn't the flu, but the mandates. I still can't smell. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah.
But where do you stand on this?
No, listen, my question is, I'm coming from a place of curiosity. I know you're like RFK. We've had RFK on multiple times. We talk about a lot of different things. He is more paranoid on the way vaccines were used during COVID. And a lot of parents are concerned about that. I'll tell you a couple things on what I think happened with this, because go to the next one, right? I mean, if Bill Gates really wanted to sell people on his, let's just say he's got a depopulation, or there's people that believe that he does.
Which he openly says.
Yeah, a lot of people say the concern is there's too many people. And by the way, other people we've had on the podcast have said this, right? Openly, that they think there's too many people. If that's the case, I mean, you can go use scripture and say the Bible says a third of, people will die, and there's going to be such a famine that's going to show up that a third of people could die. So Bill Gates could be a preacher and try to spin that and get people to start kind of thinking about that. But for me, I think a lot was revealed. They tried to accelerate the process of control very quickly. The last 4 years, you saw that with what some of the things World Economic Forum was doing. And I'm convinced the right people are not going to let that happen. It's just not going to happen. They're going to try to do it as much as possible. The only thing that we have to be careful with is the following, is this thing goes away. People are no longer that curious to know if China was behind COVID. Why? Because it's yesterday's headache.
Yep.
And we've moved on, right? So it's kind of like you know the line that Hillary Clinton uses? Like when I talked to Anthony Weiner, what does she say? What's the big deal? What's the? You ever seen when she said that?
The past is in the past.
The past is in the past, and she's like,
What difference
does it make?
Yeah.
Right? What difference does it make now? But they are banking on majority of the people saying, what difference does it make? And I don't think that's the right thing. By the way, if Trump does get elected, and none of those findings come out, then guess what? You didn't fulfill your campaign commitments.
100%.
If you're going to go out there and saying these people are going to be held accountable, well, you better pull it off, because that's a lot of what America wants to know. Because if it doesn't happen, next time around, COVID comes around, if we make the same mistakes again, it's people's fault. It's the leaders' fault.
Are they still selling the boosters and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
That I like. I like that. As just somebody as a fan of Mark, let's be honest. As a fan of Mark, now this thing hasn't really worked in the way that anyone thought it was going to work, and they're still out there, and they go, "We've got a new one," and I love it. And by the way, the terms and the COVID and the things they call COVID are confusing, and the new strains are all the time popping up.
Are you up to date with all the boosters? Are you on the 7th one or the 8th one?
I got the first 2 shots because I had to. I was touring as a comedian. They go, you can't do it if
mandates.
Got to get into the UK.
Is that the whole space? You couldn't do it if you weren't.
Couldn't do it.
Couldn't go to Canada.
You couldn't go to Canada. You couldn't go to UK. You couldn't do New York City.
How about in the States?
The New
big
York
places.
Couldn't do it.
L.A.
New York.
LA people, comedians well known that we both know were like, Vinny,
well,
do you have a fake card, a vaccine card that I could get?
Even venues in red states, even venues in red states, if they were, a lot of them would still require you to have the thing. So I got the first 2, but I never got any boosters. But I know people with the boosters, and the boosters, to me, it's the ultimate comedy is that, like, it didn't really work, and it didn't, do the thing that they said it was going to do. The only thing now they go, well, you would have been dead. That's like the last thing that, in the beginning, they're like, you won't get it. Then they're like, well, you will get it. You won't get sick. Then they go, no, you'll get it and get sick, but you won't get that sick. And then they go, no, you'll get it. You'll get sick and it'll probably be really bad, but you won't die. That was the last thing they had left. So the fact that they're still selling it 3 years later, that Pfizer is still going, let's do it. Let's bring it to market. To me, I think that's hilarious. And can you imagine, like, people walking in and still wanting this, going in and going, "Can I get a booster?" And the people at like Walmart or wherever the hell they're getting these things, the pharmacy at CVS are like going, "What?" They go, "No, I want a COVID booster." In 2024.
Well, it's the hot 90-years in Palm Beach. They got to stay fit. They got to stay firm. They got to stay friendly.
Well, if you guys think about it, though, I mean, when you have Travis Kelce, who's dating one of the most popular non-singing females on the planet, doing commercials going, hey, jab yourself. That keeps that wheel going. But going back to the overpopulation thing, where it's not like they're hiding it. When Bill Gates goes, there's too many of us. Do you guys remember Prince Philip, that really attractive looking guy? Rob, I sent you the photo of him. Prince Philip, who died at 99 years old. In 2009, he said this about when he dies. He goes, in the event that he dies and I'm reincarnated, I would like to return as a deadly virus to contribute something to solving overpopulation.
Well, I think he died as a deadly virus. Take a look at the photo
right there.
Go to the photo
of him, Rob. Go to the photo. Look at.
I mean, he did it.
These are the people.
Well,
Prince Philip, you've done it.
That's what they did in Indiana Jones in the last
Crusade. That's absolute, Rob. It's a quote.
Verify that quote.
Verify the quote that he said that. And it's a quote from him, Business Insider.
I like when it's like Illuminati gloves off. You know what I mean?
At least they're not hiding it.
When they're at the end.
They got integrity.
They're like, let me just come out and say.
He's on his deathbed. These are his last words. He's not holding any punches back. This is what he believes.
He's 99, and I've said this before, Tim, and I want to know what your take is. Like, if you think about it.
Can you find a quote, Rob?
Yeah, Rob, it's in there.
Let's fact check.
Reliable, but usually Snopes is against this. It says it's true.
Oh, shit.
For that guy, of that
Great
guy,
work, Rob.
Oh, shit.
For him to say, in the event that I come back, I want to kill as many of you effers as possible. So, by the way, this is the elite mindset. And going back to Tim, if COVID, because like you nailed it, bro. They warned us.
Yeah.
They had all these. They had exercises. I don't know if it was the year. It was like pandemic something readiness preparation, and it's in your face. It's projective program. They show you what they're gonna do.
They had some like JV things, the swine flu. They had the monkeypox. They had other things going on.
They had an exercise. But if this was a movie, think about what they got away with and everything. Like all the mainstream media, it was so planned. CNN had a death track ticker, like every day it was like the debt thing. So if you think about, look at what they got from it. Okay, the WHO, and CDC, they have all this power now. They can do whatever the hell they want, right? It helped with the voting, mail-in voting, rampant around the country. Okay, they destroyed small businesses, and you nailed it. Those deaths. I know a guy that worked. That's one of those administrators at a hospital. He goes, Vinny, this is early on, Tim. He goes, if somebody came in with they died from a motorcycle accident and they tested positive as COVID, we would tell the family, hey, just here's some cash. We'll put that he died of COVID. Not that.
Were they doing that? Man, I would have done that. I had
100%
no idea.
for cash.
I
We got to get those numbers up.
I would have showed up and said, my mother died of COVID in 10 seconds. I would have said it. I had no idea they were offering envelopes of money.
They were giving.
I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do it now. Can we do it? Can I retroactively do it?
Yeah, but not. But if it was a movie,
can we retroactively do?
I'd like to go on the record.
My whole family died of COVID. Give me anything.
Cut me a check.
I just shot a guy.
Why not?
Well, that's a form of reparations, though. We should be able to do that.
I mean,
right?
if you think about it, like, what is it hurting you if on the death certificate it just says COVID instead of motorcycle? Who gives a shit? Because they wanted to inflate the numbers, but the accountability to this day to China should scare the shit out of everybody. Because guess what? They're already saying pandemic number 2. How many more warnings do you have to get to say no?
Well, I remember I was in this little chat app called Clubhouse. It was really hot during the pandemic.
It was hot for about 6 months.
And
it was.
It fizzled.
Yeah.
It fizzled.
Yep.
But you'd go into these rooms, and it was an audio app where people would talk to each other during the pandemic, very isolated. Everyone was like hanging out on this app. And there were people saying, we're going to have a pandemic every 5 years. They were giddy. Truly. They were giddy about it. They were saying, there was a woman on one of these things. She's like, listen, she goes, we're going to have this every 5 years. This is just a way of life now. This is what it is. And I think a lot of people got very excited, especially people in the tech industry that are like, yeah, stay in your home.
That's right.
Use our products. Use our services.
Yep.
And I think they got really excited.
Maybe the people from Zoom had something to
The evolution
gain from this.
Maybe I know you're certainly more of a business mind than I am, but like, how many years do you think we accelerated during COVID? For example, now remote work is huge. All these things are huge. Probably at least 5, maybe. I mean, the big thing would be 10. But like this idea of like, how much did it speed up our, delivery into this digital landscape? Do you think that we would have gotten there in 5 years? Do you think we would have gotten there in 2 years?
It's not even going there. America's the only country in the world that believed it, that went back to it. Meaning, like, for example, I'll give you crazy stats, right? Yeah. All right. So do you know what country in the world is the worst country that have kids being born to a single mother?
Don't know.
U.S.
Yeah.
40%.
Makes sense.
40% of the kids are born to a single mother, fatherless home.
Jeez.
40%, right? Do you know what that number is in India and China?
No.
Let me just give you the world. The world average is 7%.
Okay.
India and China are 4 and 3%.
Right.
Only in America will we get to 40%.
Right.
And we don't sit there comparing the stats. We're like, okay, that's just the way it is. I bet everywhere else is like this, right?
Right.
So there's a guy, there was an event being done here in South Florida by Ron Biscardi that I sent Tom and Eric to. Rob, you played this clip. I texted it to you a couple weeks ago. We played this on the podcast. This billionaire says, this whole concept of working from home, and she's trying to correct him, right? You won't find it like this. Just look for a text that I sent you, Rob, and find it through the text I've sent you, and you'll see there. So he says, U.S. is the only place that people still are not coming back to offices.
Right.
Everywhere else, everybody's back at offices, except in America.
Interesting.
So why is that? What are we doing?
Right.
Maybe it's our policies. Maybe companies are accepting it.
Yeah.
Maybe companies are afraid. More and more companies today are flat out saying you're either at the office or you're not. You're just going to get fired.
Right.
Totally fine. So Musk brought that back up first. Some other guys are bringing it up as well. To me, here's kind of what I want to ask with this. Okay. All right. So we went through a pandemic. No problem. Fair to say America wasn't ready for it. Okay. On how to react to it. Literally.
That's very fair.
Every day they're like, you want to say something? Yeah, I'll say something. So here's what's going on. Okay, do you have anything? Okay, we'll give you another update tomorrow. Okay, all right. So, hey, do you want to? Did you
flatten
remember
the curve? We're going to flatten the curve.
Everybody was so nervous.
Yeah.
So here's a question: how much do you think from 2020, say February, till today, how much do you think we've actually invested time, money, resources in being prepared for the next one?
Nothing.
That's the point.
Zero.
So we just went through it. How much smarter did we get?
Well, I think it's no fun to avoid the pandemic. Nobody wants that. None of these simulations that Gates or any of these guys ran involved being over the pandemic in 48 hours, by the way. None of them were like, here's how we nip this in the bud and move on. They were like, here's how we deal with this incredibly devastating thing. So, yeah, it doesn't seem like... And I think they say we get one every 100 years or so, or, the last one was Spanish flu in 1918. So I think,
good old days.
I think we're famous as a country for moving forward.
Well, what's great is, the big pharma companies, the Pfizers, the Modernas, as nonprofit companies, as 501c3s, this was what they wanted to help us all out. They didn't make any money from all this.
Hell no.
I think
they didn't generate tens of billions and hundreds of billions of dollars.
The legacy of
wasn't
this
on their agenda.
Is that no one, unfortunately, there's been a seed of distrust sown into the population when it comes to the government and to big corporations and these narratives that I think can't be undone, and it will take a long time. It'll take generations of people to if they ever fully get that trust back, it'll take a long time, because I don't think people are ready now to trust them again on a wide range of issues, but certainly not on public health.
Oh, it's at I think the trust in the government and the media right now is at an all-time high, isn't it?
Well, all-time low.
All-time low.
Meaning,
they're crushing it.
They are.
Which is sad, because you need it. If you're going to have a functioning government, you're going to have a functioning media. You need people to trust these institutions. But when they let you down over and over again, there's just, what are you going to do?
Well, I will say this. I think COVID was one of the best things that ever happened to us in America. Now you're going to think like, what the hell are you talking about right there? Because the reason I liked it is because now everybody has to reveal their hand.
Yeah.
Big pharma, we understand what they stand for. Big tech, we understand what they go for. Big government, we understand where they're at. Everyone had to put their hand out and say, this is where I'm at. We saw the big tech overlords and the virtual governments expose how they basically vote.
Yeah.
We understand why big pharma is. Everyone had to get revealed. Now, kind of like what you said, when you were 20, you thought you knew everything.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that took me until about age 40.
Yeah.
And
that's the one. That's the one, Rob.
With Barry Stern, like the thing is this though: fool me once, right? Shame on you. Fool me twice. Shame on me. If it happens again, I think it woke up. You said how the right people are always finding each other.
Here's
now.
the problem, though.
But people have been woken up.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.